The fans waited. They waited through the thunder. They waited through the lightning. They waited through the darkness that swallowed the Lindner family tennis center whole. They had come to witness a reckoning, a revenge 2 years in the making. Alexander Eala had dominated from the very first point, racing to a 6-1, 3-0 lead, and the entire stadium could feel the momentum building with every shot. Then, the skies turned black. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Officials rushed onto the court and ordered everyone to seek shelter, and just like that, the match that everyone had been waiting for was suspended. The crowd filed out in stunned silence, not knowing if the match would resume in hours or days. And then, when the weather finally cleared, the impossible happened. The match never restarted. Alexander Eala walked off that court and never walked back on. The tennis world was left speechless, and when she finally spoke, her explanation left everyone even more shocked than the blackout itself. The date was August 15, 2026. The Cincinnati Open was in full swing, and all eyes were on Court 10, where Alexander Eala was about to face Elena Gabriela Rus in a rematch that had been 2 years in the making. Eala had been on a tear throughout the North American hardcourt swing, winning her first WTA title in Washington and reaching the round of 16 in Toronto. She had climbed to a career-high ranking of number 18 in the world, becoming the first Filipina ever to crack the WTA top 20. The crowd was packed with Filipino fans who had traveled from across the United States, some driving 8 hours, others flying across the country just to witness this historic moment. The atmosphere was electric, the stage was set, and then the match began. Eala came out firing, overwhelming Rus with her left-handed forehand and aggressive returning. She lost the first game of the match, but from that moment on, she went on a tear, winning 9 consecutive games to take a 6-1, 3-0 lead. Rus had no answers for Eala's combination of depth, pace, and early ball striking. She called for a medical timeout to have her ankle taped, and there was even a brief delay when a fan collapsed in the stands due to the humid conditions. But just as Eala was preparing to serve for a 4-0 lead in the second set, the skies above the Lindner family tennis center turned dark and threatening. Tournament officials had been monitoring the weather, and when lightning began to flash in the distance, they had no choice but to suspend play. The Cincinnati Open announced on its official X account, "Play has been suspended due to inclement weather approaching. Please seek shelter." The players left the court, and thousands of fans filed out of the stadium, hoping the storm would pass quickly and the match would resume. But the storm did not pass quickly. What started as a brief thunderstorm warning turned into hours of lightning strikes, heavy rain, and uncertainty. Tournament officials monitored the conditions closely, but the safety of players, fans, and staff was the top priority. Because the stoppage involved lightning, players cannot return to the court until tournament officials determine that conditions are safe. As the hours ticked by, the tension grew. Eala was sitting in the locker room, dressed and ready to return to the court, but every time officials thought the weather was clearing, another round of lightning would appear on the horizon. The delays created a logistical nightmare for the Cincinnati Open. The tournament had already been plagued by extreme weather throughout the week, with qualifying matches suspended and gates closed to the public at various points. Players were double-booked, schedules were in chaos, and now one of the most anticipated matches of the tournament was hanging in the balance. For Eala, this was a cruel twist of fate. She had been in this position before, leading against Rus 2 years ago at the U.S. Open qualifiers, before her opponent mounted a comeback. That memory weighed heavy on her mind as she waited in the locker room. She knew that momentum was everything in tennis, and she had been on a roll. Every moment of delay was a moment for Rus to regroup, to recover from the ankle injury, to find a way back into the match. But Eala had also learned a lot in the past 2 years. She was no longer the same player who had let that U.S. match slip away. She was a champion now, and she was ready to handle whatever came her way. And then the moment arrived that no one expected. The weather finally cleared. The lightning stopped. The rain stopped. The skies parted, and the sun began to shine over the Lindner family tennis center. Fans who had been waiting for hours started to trickle back into the stadium, hopeful that the match would finally resume.
Officials began to prepare the court. The players were informed that play was about to restart. And then, in a decision that left everyone speechless, the match was officially canceled. Not postponed, not rescheduled for later in the day. Canceled. The organizers made the controversial call to abandon the match entirely, citing a combination of factors including the ongoing weather threats, the packed schedule, and the complexity of squeezing in a match that had been so thoroughly delayed. For Eala, the disappointment was palpable. She had been in complete control, dominating Roos from the very first point. She had been just 3 games away from advancing to the 3rd round, where a potential match against world number 10 Amanda Anisimova awaited. She had been on the verge of exacting her revenge against the woman who had broken her heart 2 years ago at the US Open qualifiers. And now it was all gone. The match that everyone had been waiting for would never be completed. The tennis world was left in shock, questioning the decision and wondering what it meant for both players. For Eala, the emotional weight of the moment was immense. She had worked so hard to get to this point. She had trained for hours, sacrificed so much, and carried the hopes of an entire nation on her shoulders. And now she was being told that her moment was over.
When Alexandra Eala finally spoke about the decision, her words left the tennis world even more stunned than the cancellation itself. She did not complain, she did not make excuses, she did not blame the organizers or the weather or her opponent. Instead, she delivered a message that was equal parts mature and devastating. She explained that she understood the decision, she accepted it, and she chose to move forward. Momentum exists. Momentum is a thing, I guess, but it's not concrete and it doesn't give you any 100% answers, Eala had said earlier in the week. A lot of matches can help with your confidence, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Those words took on a new meaning after the cancellation. Eala was not letting the disappointment define her. She was not letting the chaos of the situation distract her from her ultimate goal. She had come to Cincinnati to prepare for the US Open, and she was not going to let a canceled match derail her preparation. I know also that I wouldn't be having these experiences if I didn't do all the work that I did beforehand, Eala said in her press conference. I know that I won't continue to experience it if I don't continue that work. She spoke about the pressure of being in the spotlight, the weight of representing her country, and the lessons she had learned along the way. I think it can be both, heavy and fun, she admitted. There are moments where it's heavy, there are moments when it's fun, but at the end of the day, I am also aware that it's a crazy experience, so I'm just trying to take it all in. Those words captured the essence of her journey, a young woman who had risen from obscurity to become one of the most talked-about players in the world, all while staying grounded and focused on her ultimate goal. The cancellation of the match left everyone asking the same question: what happens now? For Eala, the immediate focus shifted to the US Open. The Cincinnati Open had been her final warm-up tournament before the Grand Slam in New York, and while the canceled match was a disappointment, it did not change her ultimate goal. Eala's ranking had already climbed to number 18 in the world, a career high that she had achieved without even playing a match in Cincinnati, thanks to point movements from other players. She had already proven that she belonged among the best in the world. The bigger question is what the cancellation means for her mental state heading into the US Open. The emotional toll of the experience was undeniable. She had been so close to exacting her revenge, so close to advancing deeper in the tournament, and then it was all taken away. But if there's one thing we have learned about Alexandra Eala, it is that she does not dwell on setbacks. She learns from them, she grows from them, she uses them as fuel. As she had said earlier in the week, I'm just trying to take it all in. And that is exactly what she would do. The US Open was just around the corner, and Eala was ready to make her mark. The cancellation in Cincinnati would not define her career. It would not break her spirit. It would not stop her from chasing her dreams. For Eala, the journey was far from over. She had already achieved so much, and she had so much more to give. The tennis world had been left speechless by the cancellation of her match, but they had also been given a glimpse into the character of a champion. Alexandra Eala was not just a tennis player. She was a symbol of resilience, determination, and grace under pressure.
And when she walked onto the court at the US Open, she would be ready to show the world what she was made of.